What's going on, all you wild werewolf enthusiasts? We've got a great movie to review for the 31 Days of Horror. Tonight, we're going to talk about a classic horror movie, horror comedy, you could say, directed by John Landis in 1981. What are we talking about tonight, Logan?
American Werewolf in London.
4K scan from Arrow. A great set. Also comes with this. It also comes with a poster and this cool little booklet with some really cool behind the scenes, stuff and a lot of cool pictures from the movie. Just a great set from Arrow. A rescan, remastered in 4K. Looks phenomenal for a movie in 1981. They really did a great job with this. And I had a blast rewatching this film. One of the great, classic pieces of horror cinema, as we'll say. But I'll go ahead and let you get into some of the plot and the actors involved and all that first before we talk about the 4K version.
Yeah, well, first of all, this goes down as one of the best and one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Just thinking about this movie, watching as a kid, just on TV back in the day and just falling in love with this world. Great directing, John Landis. Rick Baker doing the effects in this, the practical effects, one of the greatest werewolf transformation scenes of all time. Just awesome. The practical effects is just mind blowing, and actually won an Oscar for this movie back in the 80s, early 80s. So it's a really phenomenal movie. But set up as two college kids backpacking in England. They're out in the small town. They go into this pub, the Slaughter Lamb. They run across all the local village people. Essentially, they're all drinking pints and playing darts, and just very awkward. And they're showing up there because they're freezing. It's cold out in the moors going, and that's what sets up the film having to do with the werewolf.
Just an awesome setting there, walking through the moors, hitchhiking in the beginning, and then it gets to be nighttime. They come across this cool looking pub from the outside, a place where, if we were there visiting, we'd want to go have a couple pints at the pub. You got your locals there. They can tell that they're obviously Americans. Everybody's staring at them. It's getting kind of weird in there, and they feel super uncomfortable. 5-pointed star up on the wall, and he kind of asks about, what's the deal with that thing? And that gets a very strange reaction from the people in the pub, and the people in the pub, want them out of there. They basically are going to kick them out. But they're warned when they leave, watch out, watch your back out there. When there's a full moon, there's something out there that you guys need to be careful of.
The actors in this movie, we have David, played by David Naughton, really great actor. He always shows up at Chicago horror conventions. Really great dude. And then you have Griffin Dunne playing Jack. And Jack is the one that notices the 5-pointed star, and the werewolf. Okay. Universal classic, sign of the werewolf. And they start noticing weird things happening. Obviously, the people at this pub, local English folks, older gentlemen playing darts, drinking, and they're all looking at them all awkward. What are these Americans doing here? They're talking about that, noticing the star, and the guy misses the dartboard. You made me miss. And they're like, okay, let's get out of here. And then they start hearing howling, which would scare the shit out of me and you. Yeah. Out in the dark in the middle of England in the countryside. I'm like, I'm not walking out that way. But they want to get the hell out of there and not get killed. And the guys at the pub are like, we let them leave and go out there because they know what's out there. They know about the werewolf that's killing off people. They go out to the moors, not paying attention. And they, the famous line in the movie, stay off the moors. They're not paying attention. They go off the road. They're in the moors. That's when things go bad pretty quickly. With Jack being killed, slaughtered basically, and David gets attacked, but he survives and makes it back to London and is in the hospital and finds out what he is now.
Yeah, I really love that opening, the opening shots in the moors, the creepy atmosphere. I love it. It feels very, you're claustrophobic in there at the same time as being very paranoid because they're hearing all these howls. And it seems like it's far away, and then they'll be walking a little bit and they'll be right next to them. You hear like footsteps running, and you don't see the beast right away. They keep it, John Landis, how he directed it, he kept it in the shadows until the ultimate unveiling of the actual beast itself when David completes the transformation, which is just one of the most iconic scenes ever made. And it's all thanks to makeup and horror master Rick Baker. doing that transformation. Looks amazing even all these years later. An actual physical transformation using makeup, and then you see David go from this regular old guy and turn into a werewolf right before your eyes, with the jaw opening and bones breaking, snout forming. You see his feet, the bones extend, the hair, forming, everything. It's really amazing seeing the beast come to life. But with it being a John Landis film, he's known for his comedy to begin with. So there is a lot of comical elements in this movie. There's a lot of joking around. There's a lot of not so serious stuff mixed in, which is what John Landis brought to this. He mixed horror and comedy, and he was one of the first people to do so.
Obviously, some classic tunes in this movie. Had a lot of classic rock. It's CCR in this movie too that really set the atmosphere. Kind of had like a lighter touch to it, in certain parts, second act of the film, where David's trying to take care of himself, finding out he's a werewolf. He falls in love with a nurse that works in the local hospital. There's some really funny scenes in the movie and really great music, but the really darker picture here that really stands out. It's the werewolf scenes and him killing and him transforming, being in London and set up a lot of iconic scenes. How he is a werewolf at night. The next morning he's naked. I see the naked American man. It's like holding the balloons.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good comedy in this movie, but it's a really great story. It's college kid, gets bitten by a werewolf, becomes one, kills people, falls in love with this woman and doesn't want to be this monster. So like, how do you stop this? And it really sets up the rest of the film. Some really great scenes, iconic camera shots down in like the subway and stuff, like from the point of view of the werewolf going around to the people and killing them, going down the elevator, which is a really cool scene with the camera work.
Oh yeah.
And then you finally see the werewolf in its entirety at the end of the film, and it looks phenomenal. Like the puppets or whatever, how they did it, just all practical effects, looks scary as shit, and it's something you wouldn't want to see in the city, let alone a small town.
It looks terrifying. Yeah, way more scary than anything that is put out on film today. Everybody uses CGI. It's still terrifying with the practical effects, and the way Rick Baker was able to put this on screen was just amazing. Seeing his creature work and seeing him in the movie theater at the end when he, went through the transformation and he's a werewolf and he's decapitating, the police. He's down on Trafalgar Square in the Piccadilly Circus area. It's famous place in downtown London. It's just a classic scene there at the end where he's running free, just taking out people and going crazy before he finally is surrounded and at the end of the film. But just an awesome movie. It's about an hour, a little over an hour and a half long. It flies by. Even the scenes where he's in the hospital and he's having flashbacks, there's some really cool shots of like him seeing David, hallucinating and seeing flashbacks, and him having these like acid kind of dreams, seeing these other creatures like German soldiers, and then they have like the face of these beasts. Really awesome, iconic movie, and one that I had to pick up on 4K when I saw Arrow Video was releasing it, and one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Yeah, and it really makes this movie work is David and Jack. Even though he's dead, he just becomes more and more deteriorated, and the makeup work is just phenomenal. At first, he just has his like face ripped, with like the claws and everything, but it's like turned green. It's like skin's falling off his body. It just gets, and he's basically a skeleton towards the end. Like he just keeps falling. And David's
decomposing before our own eyes.
Decomposing before our eyes, and them at the porn theater in England. And then he's like, he's basically by himself, but he's talking to Jack, and the people are banging in the background. It's some really iconic, funny scenes in this movie that John Landis does really, really well, because that's what he's known for, is comedy. It really knocks this out of the park. Really great directing. Perfect movie for me. One of my favorite all-time horror movies. Even better on 4K. So if you guys haven't picked it up, go pick it up for sure. So that being said, I'm gonna give John Landis American Werewolf in London a perfect 5 out of 5 werewolf hair pieces.
Great movie to watch during the Halloween season. Awesome to rewatch this in 4K, see the remastering. They did an excellent job. There's a lot of special effects on here. Great artwork. This is, they have a poster for this. It's up on my wall over here. You can't see it, but it looks just like this. It's awesome. Then on the back, you have the 5-pointed star. I better put that down. I don't want anything. I think there might be a full moon tonight too. One thing that I wanted to mention, a little piece of trivia here for you guys. When John Landis was making this, he had success from Animal House and Blues Brothers. And apparently the studio wanted him to hire Dan Aykroyd. and Belushi to play David and Jack. So it could have been a
Really?
whole totally different movie. Yeah, he chose to go with some unknowns, which was a better choice. It would have been weird. Obviously Dan Aykroyd and Belushi, two icons that you wouldn't have taken as seriously. So he made the right choice going with some unknowns here. With that being said, I am going to give An American Werewolf in London a perfect 5 out of 5 Rick Baker hairpieces.
So what do you wild rascals out there think of American Werewolf in London? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite horror movie? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. Also, check out these wild werewolf impersonators on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV movie news and reviews.
So thank you guys for joining us for this review of An American Werewolf in London. Make sure to pick this up on 4K if you can. It's a sweet set. I loved revisiting it, and had a great time reviewing this with you, my good mate, who also loves this film. Classic film, An American Werewolf in London, and one that we will be watching for Halloweens to come. And I can't wait to introduce it to young Nolan, and the same with your son there. And seeing it through their eyes, it's going to be awesome, revisiting this classic film. So until the next 31 Days of Horror movie review, I'm Uncle Henry.
And I'm Uncle David, signing out till next time.
Don't go to the moors. Cheers.